should turn some music on for the next 5 minutes, for reals. You go in there. You're gonna have to turn the volume way up. I can't tell who's on. I see there's people joining. You should join so you can tell me who's here. We're gonna get started here in just a little bit, okay? Send me a message and tell me who's here. I don't know. Look, we're not techies yet, so hold on. Are you on? Can I see your phone? Hey, if you don't mind, let me know in the comments who's watching. I can't see who it is. We're gonna get started here in just a couple minutes. I gotta get my moderator on. There you go. Can you hear me okay? Thumbs up if you can on there. Well, you don't know because your volume's off. There you go. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Thumbs up if you can on there. You don't know because your volume's off. We can turn that off. Alexa, stop the music. We're gonna wait just a couple more minutes to get started. We're gonna talk about just some basic continuous preparation. Alexa, stop the music. You can turn that down now that I know you can hear me. Oh gosh, y'all, we're not technical. We're gonna figure it out though. It'll be okay. Okay. All right. There's someone else here. I can't see who it is. Can you? No. Oh, it just shows you. Whoever was there is gone. It's okay. We're going to talk about this. It's 7 o'clock. So how about I interview you a little bit? You don't have to be on camera, but I have a moderator here tonight. It's my favorite person, Chris Brower. You could say hello.
Hey, everybody.
Anyway, so he is going to be looking at the comments while I'm talking, and then either taking notes or letting me know if there's questions that come up. Basically, we're going to talk about simple preparedness, but it's sustainable. It's not just preparing like when you know a storm is coming. We're not going to do that. That's why people go and panic buy. So I'm gonna just keep kind of preempting this until we get a few more viewers going. Give me a thumbs up if you're here. Send me a comment. Tell me who you are. I can't see who you are. It won't show me. I have a little outline here, so this is going to go pretty fast. And then I'm going to open up for questions. And we're also, I think I said this in my post, working on a PDF because no one's going to remember all this. There's so much to eternal preparedness. I don't like to call myself a prepper because I don't feel like I am. I feel like I am someone who wants to be prepared. And there's a difference. How's the lighting? Does it look okay? Is it too dark? Too light? Face shining in your face? Okay, I got a thumbs up from my moderator. So we have a couple people. We'll start, and I have this, like I said, this little outline. So I want to just briefly talk about what's going on the East Coast, and I say briefly because a disaster of that magnitude, which is basically apocalyptic, right? It's huge. You can't prepare for your house being swept away. There's no way to prepare for that other than if you're a believer, stand on that, right? Like that's your salvation. But my being prepared is an ongoing process in our house. Wouldn't you say? We're pretty consistent since 2020. One of the things that I like to say is that I basically have a grocery store in my house. I try to keep up with it. I try to get real serious and technical and put a little chart on the computer, and I'm not good at that. So I just want to say, we can't prepare for everything, okay? I have some notes, so if you see me looking over here, yeah, I got a teleprompter. But I'm not going to stay on it. So what we're doing is starting a process, okay? That's the goal of this preparedness video, is that we're going to start a process to always be prepared. So I kind of liken it to being like if you're going camping, right? You know what equipment you need. You need a little stove, you need a tent, you need some fans, you need whatever. Sometimes you want solar. So basically that's kind of the gist of it. So I'm going to go to my chart so that I don't get too far off topic, because I'm going to try to keep this under an hour. I will answer any questions that you want, and I'll go as long as you want. But my goal is 30 to 45 minutes or less, okay? I love you too. Hi, Aunt Jana. So what we're going to start with is like the basic needs, right? We're just going to start with water and food and security. We'll get to security, and I'm going to guess that my moderator will chime in a little bit in the background. So the top priority in grid down, that's what we're going to call it, right? So when the grid goes down, you have no power. Let's just say it's a couple days. Almost anybody's prepared for that. You might be a little caught off guard, but for the most part, you can probably handle it. But over on the East Coast, and even like way back to Katrina and even some storms recently here in Texas, people were days without power, without water, without food that they were prepared for. And I'm going to say how we're going to do this basically, okay? So water. The goal is to have enough water on hand. Everybody that's in your house, 1 gallon of water per day, okay? That's pretty easy when you have 2 people living in your house, but for families that have 5 or 6 children or a couple of children, right? That can get a little like overwhelming. So what we do here is we do the 2.5 gallons with the spigot, and we just keep them in the back. We don't use them for anything else. And that's for our drinking water, for cooking, whatever. So you can do filtered water. You can buy the filtered straws. Like, for me, that's a big bang experience if you need to use straws. But if you think about what just happened, in those mountains, those people have no fresh water. So I don't think it's a bad thing to have filtered straws on hand. Are you ever going to use them? You might. And then, let's see. So you're going to also need water for daily use. That water doesn't need to be purified. So a simple way, I'm going to talk to everybody who lives from an apartment to a mansion, from the poorest to the wealthiest. Okay, that's my goal, is to get everybody, because we're all where we're at. Okay, so you're gonna have water for flushing your toilets, washing dishes, and just cleaning up things. Like, if you look at the mess they have no water to clean it up. All the water's muddy. So if you have a few gallons of just stockpiled water, right? Empty jugs of milk, rinse them out good, fill them with water, put the cap back on them, and write on it for toilet flushing, for emergency. That simple. If you had 5 gallons of that, you're going to get through. Your goal is 3 days, because hopefully within 3 days, help is coming. I think we all know that help's only going to come from the people around you. So I follow a lot of homesteaders and what I would call actual preppers. Being prepared and being a prepper, to me, is 2 different things. I'm not like prepping for the apocalypse. You know, I feel like we're prepared. We could go several days, several weeks. So we can move to food now, and I know that was a little bit fast. If you have questions, by the way, please write them in the comments. So if I missed something that you wanted to hear, or you just have a question about, like, so how does the water stay fresh, right? Water that you buy at the store that's contained is going to stay fresh for probably a year, okay? If you open it, it's different. The water that you're using, that you're saving up in the gallon jugs or a juice bottle or just whatever, just fill up some bottles of water and stuff them in the closet. Have a place. And then, so on to the food thing. Fresh water for drinking, whatever water for doing the other business, right? So food, there's long and short-term storage for food. I'll say this. I know a lot of us are trying to eat cleaner, eat healthier, eat fresher, especially since COVID, right? Like, we want to stick to our diets and our plans and try to stay healthy. In a long-term situation, what you need is protein and calories, and that is what you should focus on for your stocks, okay? It doesn't have to be organic, fresh fruit that you're stocking up on, because you can't keep that, right? There's no way. You can buy cans of organic food. I don't buy organic unless it's really fresh organic. I don't buy it in cans. But just as simple as this. So how do you do it without breaking the bank? That's the big question. Am I jumping all over? Am I? Okay. Y'all make sure I'm not losing you, okay? Long-term storage is going to be stuff that you don't use every day, right? Like, we don't eat a lot of canned vegetables, but I will, throughout the year, buy a case. What are those little boxes? I'm assuming that's a case. That's what I call them. There's maybe 12 cans in the little thing. So I'll buy a case of peas. I'll buy a month later a case of green beans. And then you have to rotate this. So you're going to have to use it at some point. And I know we all have those nights. Like, for us, at first it was hard for me because I bought so much stuff and put it in place that then I was like, how am I going to use it all, right? Like, we don't eat roast beef hash on a regular basis. There's a lot of protein, a lot of calories in that. So what we do is, mostly during the winter, we'll make up batches in a cast iron skillet with roast beef or corned beef hash, fry an egg on the top of it, and have it for breakfast, because that's how you're going to rotate, okay? If you don't like roast beef hash or corned beef hash, don't buy it. That simple. If you want to focus on just vegetables and fruits, put those in your stocks. You don't have to, they usually are good. I feel like vegetables and fruits are good for a couple years, and canned meats are good for like 4 years. That's great protein. That's tuna, that's salmon, that's sardines, that's chicken in a can. They make beef and pork. It's all water and the meat, right? Like, that's what you want to look for. That's the purest form of canning. We do a lot of home canning of that stuff too. So if you are into canning, you can can meats very simply. And I could do a whole nother series on that if you want. So it's intermittently buying these things. If you're not stocked up right now, that's okay. Get stocked up. Like, my process has been over 4 years. And I don't know what the trip was for me, other than it was COVID. And everybody was sick. We couldn't even get rice. We had plenty of food. But because the supply chain was going down and there was like a slow process of getting it, I thought, I'm not going to be here again. So for the next year, from 20 to 21, every month I would buy, what are those, 16, 24, whatever size you want, pack of toilet paper. And I would stock it in my closet. And I did that for probably 6 months till that's a lot of toilet paper, y'all, but I didn't go buy it all at one time and wipe the stores out. I went and just slowly added it so that I had it in my space. And when I got down to 2, I started again. Very simple process, okay? Don't break the bank. We just had this big scare with the ILA workers, right? So, and people were posting about toilet paper disappearing. I'm okay with that. I get it. Like, toilet paper is important, right? Is that one of your favorite things in your life, is to have toilet paper? That's a fear of mine. I don't want to be without it. There are alternatives to that, and in a deeper dive for preparation, we'll get into some of that stuff if you want to. And if you want to get deeper, give me a thumbs up. I'll go as deep as you want to go in this, because I feel like I got almost as deep as you could go. But as I was saying earlier, I follow a lot of people who are what I would consider preppers, homesteaders, so prepared, way more prepared than myself. And they are in South Carolina without power for 6+ days, and they're finding holes in their system. So do not be discouraged. If you're not ready, you're not ready. And one of the things that I listen to with a lot of the people that I follow is them saying, I want to be the person who's not the burden, right? So if you think about South Carolina and the extent of damage they got versus the extent of damage that North Carolina got, that North Carolina supersedes them 100%, right? I want to be that person that doesn't need to call for help because I'm not in an emergency situation, because I have food, because I have water, because I'm prepared. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yes. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Uncomfortability brings us to the next place. We find out where our holes are. We find out what's missing, right? So it's okay to be uncomfortable. But knowing that you can provide food for yourself and possibly your neighbor or your adult children or your grandchildren. If you have a family that's living at home with you, it would be so hard. Like, I listen to some of these people talking about how their kids, they don't have food to give their kids. I don't want to be in that spot ever again, okay? Excuse me. So, long-term storage are things that you can put on your shelf and you don't have to look at. You can go through them, and this is how we do it. And I'm saying these things, and there's so much information, so I know I'm giving you a lot, and I'm sorry. Take notes. I'm making a PDF for you that you can go back and look through and review, and just get, when the spirit moves you to go and buy some extra stuff, you should listen to that. That is really what drove me. Is you need to prepare. And I was like, I don't know how to prepare. Like, I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of girl my whole life. But I found that it was easy to fall into it, okay? So my goal is to just share some of those challenges that I went through, as well as some of the errors that I made. And we can try to do this in an hour or a couple series. I'm good with that too. I enjoy talking about this. This is one of my passions. I actually love going to my pantry, which is an entire room now, and shopping. I don't have to go. I was mad the other day because I went to make a dinner and I didn't have tomato paste. Guess who didn't keep up with their job, right? But imagine, you could get around it. I mean, I used ketchup instead. But what I'm saying is just that simple, that's how important it is to me, is that I enjoy that so much. So I prepare before I go to the store. So what I want to tell you is this. If it's 5 cans of one item, right? 5 cans of corn, 5 cans of green beans, 5 cans of potatoes. And yeah, there is canned potatoes. We can those ourselves too, and I can show you how to do that as well. So much better, but the ones in the can are fine if you need them. Cans of tuna. If you have $10 extra that you can move, like, okay, I won't buy soda this week. I'll buy something to put in my stock. So I shop weekly, pretty much. Even though my stuff it's usually animal food and dog food and, you know, like the basic fun stuff, the milk, the bread, that kind of stuff. So short-term storage stuff is stuff that you're going to use, right? So things that you love. You know a storm's coming, right? And let's say that you eat gluten-free. So when you go to the store to buy your stuff for that storm threshold that's happening, you can buy short-term stuff. You can buy fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, things that may go bad faster, right? And you can cook them up and put them in your fridge. Those are more short-term. I call that my everyday pantry. Your freezer is a pantry. So if you remember that, like stocking up on some meats, some bacon, buy extra bacon. And if you don't eat bacon all the time, great. That's what we don't eat a lot of bacon. We do love it when we eat it. But if we buy 2 packs of bacon, we'll have bacon for 6 months most likely, because we just don't eat it that much. In a grid down situation, you have that stuff. So that's sort of the way of thinking. And I don't know if I'm making sense. Give me a thumbs up if you understand what I'm saying. And if I okay. Look, I know he understands because he lives here and he deals with this thought process all the time. Okay, so food, long-term storage, short-term storage, freezer and fridge items. Them dogs howling. They always got to talk. Dry goods, coffee. If you are a coffee drinker, let's talk about some of that. Proteins, carbs. What about keto, organic, or what did I just say? You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, buy what you're going to eat, what your family eats. You're gonna have, you may have to compromise. Like, I mean, in North Carolina, if somebody handed me a can of Spam right now, I'd be a happy girl. I prefer not to eat Spam on a regular basis. My husband loves it. So once in a while, when we stock up on it, which was always on the shelf, he will get up and make Spam and eggs for breakfast, and it's good. So moderation is everything, right? You can change what you're doing to rotate your cycle. If you have adult children, give them some of your leftover stock. And I do want to talk about expiration dates real quick too. So I think I said most vegetables and fruits have about a 1 to 2 year shelf life. That is a guide, okay? I would have never known that. So if something is March of 2024 and it is March of 2025 and it's still on my shelf, I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to inspect the can. I'm going to open it. I'm going to eyeball it. I'm going to see what it looks like, and I'm going to give it the sniff test. If it doesn't pass all 3 of those things, get rid of it. For the most part, those foods will last 5 to 10 years on your shelf. They will lose nutritional value the longer they stay on the shelf. That's the downside, okay? So understand that that date is a guideline. If cans are dented, you all know the risks of that. You can't smell botulism, you can't taste it, you don't even know it, you can't see it. So I would not eat anything in a dented can that was past the expiration date. I want you to be smart about this too. All right, so we've covered water, we've covered for the most part food. We're gonna get into some shelter and comfort. Just do this all year long. The world that we live in is not going away. We're not going back. And I don't mean that in that way. I mean, we cannot reverse what has happened so far, okay? So what I'm saying to you is there will be more disasters. We're on the brink of potential world wars. The climate is changing and the weather is extreme at moments. And you don't know when that's going to happen. But I'm all about personal responsibility. And the more you can get out of the system. Now listen, we can get into some gardening and homesteading and raising your own meat. And this is not what this video is about. This is about being prepared. So if you have to buy from the store, buy from the store. Do not be left running into the store at the last minute to purchase what you need for an emergency, okay? So we're gonna go to shelter, comfort, and safety. And one of those is protection. I'm not gonna go into great detail because I don't wanna get booted off here, okay? So you all know what I mean. Be protected. They're telling people on the southeast coast, do not go out of your house without some form of protection, safety off. Because not everybody's bad, but everybody's in a desperate mindset right now. And desperate people do desperate things. So that's all I'm gonna say about safety, okay? Yeah. And if we have a K9 patrol unit, he said, that's what he was telling you. And we all hear anything that comes within miles of us. Let's see. So seasonal, right? So right now it's hurricane season. It's a little bit hot. It's a little bit sweaty. I need a fan. We actually were gifted a battery operated, is it Makita? I was going to have it in here for this, but I did not. I'm sorry. I can do it later. I can post it in the PDF so that everybody can see where to get it. It's a Makita fan, and it runs on a lithium battery.
20 volt, just like the power tools.
What is it?
20 volt, just like the power tools.
20 volt, just like power tools. Of course, Makita. Now, I'm sure there's other fans. There's solar options. Let's talk about lighting. Because if there's one thing I can't stand is that when it gets too dark and I can't see, and I don't want to have candles burning while I'm sleeping. I have several solar lights. In fact, I'm gonna grab one. Or you want to grab that one over there on the window? And this is sort of the thing with, and this goes to safety as well as comfortability. During the day, we're good, right? That it's daylight, you can see what's going on. It's, it's bright. But this little light right here comes with this little solar panel. And it's not that big, but the light is dusty because it sits in my window. But if you look how bright this thing is,
this will light up an entire room. I keep it in my window. Oh. Let me try to get it off. Okay, I think I got it. And so, oh, sorry. So those are options too. I bought that on Amazon. I can put that in the PDF with a link. It's just, you have to think outside of the box. The solar, I have a solar fan that I bought for my chickens, and it sucks. It has to be in the sun, and it's about this big. Now listen, if you don't have any air moving and you have a window that's in the sun and you put that fan in there, you're thankful for it. But I prefer the ones that have the battery that you can recharge, and we'll get into that further. I think we bought 2 batteries for ours. Is that right? 2 batteries. So they're always on the charger, ready to roll. And they do last a good long time. All right. So lights, look, I remember I said I was going to talk to everybody from an apartment living to lowest income possible to best income possible. Go to the Dollar Tree and buy whatever solar lights they have out for the season. During the day, when it's sunny, and it's always pretty much sunny in Texas, even the day or two following the storm, you can take those outside and let them charge, and then bring them in at night. You can light up an entire room. $1.25, y'all. Like, if you want to buy more expensive ones, do that. Do what's in your means. We're so conventionally taught, right, that we gotta have bottled water, we gotta have this, we gotta have candles, and we're just gonna suffer through the heat. We don't have to do that. I liken this grid down situation to a camping trip, right? Like whatever you can do. Okay, so we're gonna move on. We've talked about safety, lights, water, food, and let's, okay, my timer's telling me what time it is. As long as y'all are good, I'll keep going. So the next thing I want to talk about is battery powered lighting. That's a thing too. Just so you know, I make it kind of routine twice a year, maybe more depending on how I go through them. At Christmas time, I go through a lot of those little tiny string lights that I use. I don't have a lot of power in my 100-year-old house, so I use a lot of battery powered string lights. And so I will buy, and I use Sam's Club. If you use Costco, use Costco. If you use Walmart, use Walmart. But I will buy the great big pack of all the batteries. A's, double A's, triple A's, C's, B's, and I'll do that at least once a year. Restock on all. I don't do it all at one time because it gets expensive. So these are the things that I'm telling you when you go to the grocery store. If you know you don't have lights, that should be a focus, right? Like, you're gonna go to the grocery store, it's getting dark earlier, winter's coming, whatever. Okay, you know what your life looks like. You know where the struggles are when the power goes down. Think about the struggles when the power goes down on day 1 and 2, and then you get it back. Maybe you get it back 12 hours later, right? Nobody's freaking out usually about that. All right, we're gonna go on to some bigger things. I want you to remember, think about planning for a camping trip. So if you have they make those great big black and, what are they, 40-gallon totes? Put all your gear for an emergency in there, other than your solar lights. You want them to keep charging, unless you haven't pulled the little tab on them, okay? Yeah, you're grabbing one tote, you're bringing it out. We're in an emergency. Here's all my candles. Here's all my paper plates. Here's all my plasticware. And we're going to get to that stuff too. We talked about, let's see. I guess I need to use the touch. Okay. So staying warm enough. Remember, we all remember here in Texas 2020 when the grid shot and we all were like freezing in our houses. We went and bought, and I want to say at the time, we spent under $300 for a propane, you can help me out here, just a wall unit that you mount on the wall. You run the cord outside, there's propane tank, and it heats. Huh?
propane ceramic heater.
Okay. We did that. So this is how we look at this. So when it gets really uncomfortable, just close down spaces that you're not using. Put up an air bed in one room so everybody has a fan, everybody has heat, or whatever it is that you're using. Use a generator and you can run an AC unit. Do that.
Generators outside.
We don't have to. Yes, don't use your gas generators in the house, please. And I know everybody doesn't have a generator. Some people have generators for their whole house. That's awesome, and that is on my wish list for the future. Because I think we're going to need it. I don't think we're going to get out of this little cyclone that we're in. So make sure you have what you need to stay cool. I actually listened to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about years ago when they went through a bad hurricane down in Alabama. And they pitched a tent outside because it was cooler outside than it was in their house. So they pitched a tent outside, they put their fan, they put their generator outside of the tent, and they knew that the generator was out of gas when the fan turned off. So there's just these clues that you can get. Okay, let's talk about cooking supplies. If you have a gas stove, you're probably okay. You can light your top burners with the lighter. The gas is not stopping. It's the power that's causing you issues. I do not have a gas stove. We don't even have gas in our house. There's no natural gas out here. So cooktops like Blackstones, propane grills, charcoal grills, pellet stoves are not going to work because they plug in. 2-burner camp stoves. Think about putting those in your repertoire. Because you can buy the little cans of propane, and those things have gone up significantly since 2020. And I don't know what they are because I have a good stash of them that I just started stocking up on them. Because listen, we camped once, but we bought a camp stove. And so we could use those little cans on it. And I thought, we have it. I'm going to buy the camp stove. I'm going to buy the propane so we can use it if we need it. Those things are great. You can use them inside of your house if you need to. I would open a window. That's just me because I'm overly cautious and I don't want to tell anybody to do anything silly. But that's how I would handle that. And you can cook a hot meal that you might not be able to get if you have all electric, which a lot of people do. Okay, so we talked about the little camp stoves. We have a big 2-burner camp stove that I use for, in the summertime, I have a glass top stove, and I use a great big All-American canner for pressure canning. That thing is too heavy for my stove. It gets way too hot, and it has to cook too long. So I bought these, well, my husband bought me this camp stove with 2 burners. You need propane. You need a big, normal propane can. And okay, so now I can basically go on to fuel because we've kind of talked about what the things that you can cook. And most of us have a grill, whether it's charcoal, whether it's a smoker that uses wood. Just make sure pre-storm that you have wood or you have access to get the wood. Charcoal, have some. I'm not going to worry about pellets because pellet stoves aren't going to work in a grid down. So the Blackstone, so just propane. Because we have the propane heater, which goes through quite a bit. I'll say that, like you can't run that thing all the time to heat your whole entire house. But if you shut down to 2 rooms, maybe your bathroom, because nobody likes to go to the cold potty, and you just have that in there where everything's with blankets. I remember being a kid, and during a hurricane or our air conditioner was out, I can't remember. But my mom put blankets up to stop the hot air from coming into the areas that we were functioning in. That's basic knowledge. We are so used to being comfortable that we forget the basic stuff for being uncomfortable. And that's just what this focus is right now. How do you stay as comfortable as possible in an uncomfortable situation? I'm bougie. I mean, I'll go out and sweat with the farm, but I want air conditioning when I come back in. I need at least a fan. I need air blowing on me. So I'm going to make sure I have those things in even a long-term situation. Okay. So right now we're talking about 3 to 5 days, okay? If you want later, we can talk about longer periods of time, and that's going to require bigger equipment like generators, making sure your gas stocks are piled up and that you have what you need. All right, those little propane containers, go buy you 2 of those a week. I want to say do you have any idea? Can you look it up and see how much they are? And then I'll say it when you find it. Go to Walmart, because I feel like they're one of the cheapest places. All right, one more thing that I want to talk about for fire is, what are those called? Sterno cans. So let's say you live in an apartment. You don't have a grill, you don't have a gas grill, you can't have one. Sterno cans, those are the little things that you just light, and they're gel, I think, inside, and they warm the aluminum pans that sit in a rack. Do that. Put that on your list. If that's your only option for having a hot meal, even once a day, I would put that in my emergency pack. I would put some aluminum pans, I would put the stand, and I would put some Sterno cans in there. And now I know that I can give my kids a hot meal once a day, minimally. More than that if you want. All right, so let's talk about fuel types. There's wood. And then
They're about $5 a piece.
are they $5 a piece? So about $10 for a two pack on the little propane cans. Okay, do y'all know what I'm talking about? Give me a thumbs up if you do. The little propane cans that attach to like camp stoves or lanterns, or and they last pretty long actually. But you could boil water. Like if you need to boil water to drink or some clean water, you got it, right? Like it's there.
You can cook food on the stove.
You can. No.
Anything you want.
Yeah. But I just like, even if you're not using it to cook, like you're just going to eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or tuna salad, do that. I don't care. But you got to have some heat because you're going to need to boil some water or cook something at some point. Maybe your kids just need to clean up, right? You need to wash your hair. I don't know. But I personally need hot water, and I want it to be as clean as possible. I'm going to talk about propane tanks. We have, how much do you have on hand right now? That's where you start. How many propane tanks? Like if you have a gas grill, you have at least 1 propane tank. We had a travel trailer that had 2, how big are those? 30-gallon tanks on them. We took those off because we're not using that anymore. And then we had a couple of other, because we have a Blackstone, we have the double burner Camp Chef, right? So we have at least 2 of those. So we use those in the winter time to run our little propane heater when we need to. We don't do it when it's normal winter Texas, but when it got down in the 20s, that thing felt really good. So I was happy to have that. So you're going to want to make sure that frequently throughout the year, you make sure your propane tanks are filled, okay? Whatever extent you think you're going to use them. It's very hard to get specific about how much of one thing does one person need, because it's so individualized, okay? So what we have works for us. There's 2 of us. We use our propane heater maybe, a week out of the winter?
Sparingly.
Here and there. And it's normally just to take the chill off the house. But in the spring, we'll go fill those back up so we can use them for the camp stoves and the other things that we have, okay? The other thing is, let's talk about gas. Like regular old gasoline. I don't know how many vehicles you have, but we have 3. And a lawnmower. Top every one of those things off pre-storm. Because my car holds 15 gallons of gas. I'm probably not going anywhere in a grid down very far, right? And then especially like if you go back to, what hurricane was that we flooded all around? Was that Harvey? We couldn't leave New Ulm. Like there was no exit really. Every road was washed out or flooded over. So I didn't use much gas, but I had gasoline. So you can siphon that out in a long-term situation, okay, to fill your generator. If you have a generator, fill it up with gas. Have a couple gas cans on hand. Store them safely. Don't bring them into your house. Do not store gasoline in your house.
If you're going to store gasoline, get ethanol-free gasoline.
That is a good idea. But if you fill up all of your equipment that runs on fuel, like we have a tractor, we also have a diesel truck. So that truck is full, that tractor's not running out of fuel. But we'll have it topped off and a can on spare. It's easier than it sounds like. Like when I started this, I was like, oh my gosh, how do people have 10 gallons of gas stored up? Fill your car up, right? Like, very simple stuff. Pre-storm, go fill your vehicles up. You have gasoline. The other types of fuel that I want to talk about are, there's lamp oils. So I got lucky enough to inherit, I think I have 3 oil lamps. Bought some oil for them and some wicks, and they're just ready to go. Please practice this stuff. Like, that's one of my goals. We bought a bunch of stuff post COVID and all the crazy, and or inherited it or realized what we had and how we needed to start using it, and then we didn't do it. So right now we're working on working our way through dry running everything. And I think every time there's a big event, I think you just get that urgency to go, right? Like, I got to do something different. If you feel the desire or the urgency to do something more, please do it, okay? I'm going to go back because there's new people that have just joined. Water. Always have 1 gallon of water per person for 3 days in your house. And remember, I told you how we did it. 2.5 gallons with the little spigot. For Chris and I, 3 of those, that's several days of water for us. 3, 2.5, and they're not that bad. They're not that big. Like, they're, right? Easy to store. Let's see. I'm going to go back to some other things that you should do. And some of these things, y'all, I mean, I'm going to do this for you coming up in the next week. I'm going to go to the Dollar Tree and I'm going to do a $30 stockpile. Okay, $30 is going to be my budget. And I'm going to come back and do a live and show you what I got. Matches, boxes, big boxes, small boxes, first aid kits, Band-Aids. All of those things can be bought. And listen, I'm going to tell you that having one little tiny Band-Aid that might not be the best brand, rather than having nothing, I would pick that every day to put in my stocks. So, we're going to go to matches, lighters. Every couple months when I'm standing in the grocery store line, and I don't grocery shop outside of the house much, like I'm kind of a order online, Chris picks it up on his way home kind of girl. But I will throw matches on there, especially if I go to the Dollar Tree. I will buy a 2-pack of matches, and I have a little tote that I keep them in. It's all my fire starters, okay, all in there. Let's see, what was that? Oh, let's talk about candles. I don't want to use my good smelling pumpkin spice candles during a grid down. Will I? Absolutely. You can buy that stuff at the Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, online, tea lights, just the what are they, pillar candles. You don't want to spend a lot of money on candles, especially if you're investing in solar lights, because you're not going to need as many candles. Candles bring you heat. Candles can be used to light other things like a fire outside, things like that, okay? So, not a bad thing to have. I'm not knocking candles. I'm just saying, don't go buy $30 candles for a grid down. Go make a stash of the cheapest candles you can find and put them in that stash, right? We're not trying to prep up for foo-foo. We're trying to prep up for survival. So keep your nice candles out and use them year-round for fun and love and joy. And then bring out those utility candles to use during a grid down. We're about 15 minutes to go. Everybody still good? You want me to keep going? Are you taking notes? Let's see. Okay, so if you're going to have oil lamps, go to a thrift store, find some oil lamps. You can buy wicks online. You can buy a lamp oil online. You can buy it at Walmart. I don't even know if they make oil lamps anymore. I'm sure that they do, but I have not had to look for them, so I cannot help you there. Okay, we're going to jump to disposable. One more thing. Little tiny fire starters, right? What are those called? They make them Duraflames. They make little tiny ones that you can just start a fire with. So that's another way to cook. When we were talking about cooking, you can, if you have an outdoor fire pit, put a grill over it, put some wood in it, and you can cook your food. And I do want to say one more thing about cooking. If you know how you're going to cook food, you are so far ahead of the game. But have 2 plans, okay? Because if your gas grill breaks or you can't get propane, gotta have a backup plan, right? So don't forget that. All right, paper plates, disposable items. Paper, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time here. Paper plates, paper towels, toilet paper, plastic utensils, foil pans and containers, and we already talked about why you would want those, right? I'm gonna go, I lost my place, sorry. No, I did not. Okay, some other options, and this is kind of just a recap. Other options for water sources, you can buy those 5-gallon water containers that, you know, people put in the water fountains. You can just have that. You don't have to have a water fountain. What?
Water coolers.
Yeah, for the water coolers. If you have a water cooler, great. Just have a backup stock. 5 gallons goes a long way. Great job. You have won some of that battle. I will say this too about water. If you know a storm is coming, remember way back in Y2K when everybody was like, fill your bathtubs. Fill your bathtub. That's your flushing water. That's your dishwashing water. When you put it in your bathtub, it's not contaminated because it's pre-storm, right? So you can use that afterwards to do the things that you need to do, whether it's, you know, doing a sink full of dishes or washing some laundry, whatever it is. Like you have, I don't know, how many gallons does a bathtub hold? Do you know, babe?
Oh, probably
100?
50 gallons.
100?
70 gallons.
50 or 70, 75. I don't know. Y'all can look that up. But don't forget to do those silly little things. Fill your car up with gas so you have extra fuel in case you need it. Not to go somewhere, not to necessarily flee a situation, because if it's flooded all around you, you can't go anywhere and no one can get to you, okay? So having that extra fuel gives you, I mean, fuel for what? Running a chainsaw, cutting your way out of somewhere. I don't know. What else, babe? Can you think of things?
Back to the fire starter. A couple good things for starting a fire. Fritos corn chips, highly flammable for starting a fire.
I have heard that.
And another thing is cotton balls
With
dipped in
Vaseline.
Vaseline.
Yeah.
Burns a long time to get wood started.
I do have one more thing to very seriously talk about, and that's medication. Please make sure that you are ordering any prescription medication that you have on hand, that you have that going into a storm. So if you're 5 days away pre-storm and you know you only have 5 pills left, do not miss that. Get your meds before. Also, I want you to get on hand, again, easy stuff, over-the-counter medications, Tylenol, ibuprofen. If you have babies, get it. If you have grandbabies, get baby doses. Y'all, this is basic stuff, and this is how you keep from being the emergent need, right? Like, I can sustain here because I have these things that I need. Allergy medication, anti-itch creams, toothbrushes, extra toothpaste, because you may have guests that need to come be with you. Your family may need to come be with you. So if you have grandbabies, throw a pack of diapers in the, you can use it. Like, they're going to outgrow them if you don't. I mean, like, so we've been blessed to have 9 and they keep growing through, and I'll have a little bit left from the one before and I'll use that on the next one, and then, right? But you should have those things on hand. Wipes, like feminine products. If you have daughters or daughters-in-law, or granddaughters who use feminine products, stock that stuff. It's a quick, right at the store, right? Like, I'm at the store, I'm in this section. Thankfully, I don't need that stuff anymore, but I have it on hand. because if anybody needs it, I have it. We're not just stocking for ourselves, like Chris and I are not. When we stock up, we're stocking for our family. So we have children's Tylenol, we have baby Motrin, we have saline solution, we have weird stuff, right, that people normally don't have. I don't have a ton of it, but I have enough to get us through a few days if we needed to use it. And that is all you're looking at, 3 to 5 days worth of what you need. Okay. I want to talk about, we have 10 minutes. If any of you have water catchment systems outside in your yard, like maybe, like I know a lot of times in the city, people will hook up a big barrel, a rain barrel, to their gutter system, and they'll use it to water their gardens. Pre-storm, fill that thing up. You're not ever going to waste that water. Because if you don't need it in the storm or post-storm, you're going to need it in the next drought to water your grass. So just do it. You're never wasting anything, right? So maybe we've had a long drought. You haven't had any rain in there. Fill that thing up with your faucet. You're not wasting anything. Let's talk about pets real quick, too. It's like, for me, we have a lot of pets and farm animals. So it's very hard to keep extra stock for them. So basically what we do as pre-storm is we make sure that we have what we need to get through about a week, right? So if that's what you do, do that. I see Lisa's on here, and you foster a lot of dogs. So maybe just stock up on some canned goods that can sit on your shelf and not go bad. I actually just learned how to make my own dog food, which was super fun. I did not can it, though. I froze it in the freezer, so that's a thought, too, and we can talk about that on another day. Water for your dogs, too, so if you have a few pets. Like, let me go back to if you have a well pump, right? So if you have a well and you have access to a generator, you can run that well intermittently, hook up a hand pump to it, whatever you need to do, because well water will not come to your house with no power. City water will. You can still flush your toilets, you can still run water. It might be contaminated, but you can still have running water. So on the well situation, I would think about that in advance. We can talk about it further because this is sort of basic info. I don't want to go deep into that, but intermittently, like 2 hours a day, you turn your water on, you do your laundry. Well, if you don't have power, you don't do laundry, but you do your dishes, your kids take a shower, you fill up all your livestock, and you fill up your jugs. Okay, that just very simple ways of doing this. Let's see. I talked early on about using simply milk gallon jugs when you empty a gallon of milk. I don't care if you do this 2 times in the next 6 months. You will have 2 gallons of water sitting in your house that you have to clean a sink out, to flush a toilet with, to feed your dog. Like, I wouldn't leave it sitting very long and then give it to my pet or drink it myself.
But you can get iodine tablets.
You can get iodine tablets. We'll get into that a little deeper. If y'all want to go further deep diving, we can do that, okay? This is really about making sure you're prepared in every situation that you can possibly think of. And remember, I told you early on, a lot of you are new and have joined late. I am talking to and with very skilled preparers and prepped people on homesteads that are finding holes in their system. You're always going to find it, okay? But if you can just think through the basic stuff. How can I do this as cheaply as possible? Because I don't have a ton of money to spend on a generator. But I can slowly spread out solar lights, things like that I can light my house with. And again, you take your solar panels, you put them outside during the day, or your solar equipment, and you let them charge, and then you bring them in for nighttime, okay? Let's see. I think I'm about done. And we're right at 7:54. Does anyone have any questions? I can't see your questions right at this minute. Is anyone making comments? Because if you are, I can't see them either. I saw them in the beginning. So maybe. Do you see any questions in there? Okay. Listen, y'all, I'm going to create this PDF. It may take me a week or so more. I don't think we're done. Do you feel like you're done, or do you feel like you need like more? This is a long process, and maybe I'm just dense and it took me long. But I found myself very overwhelmed. I want you to do this one thing, okay? Panic, fear pushes, but wisdom leads. So be wise about this. Put it all the time. This is your new way of living, okay? We're not living in the 1990s anymore, all right? So understand this. You've got to be ready for anything that you can be ready for. And if you're doing that all year long, so much easier. What? Oh, Chris wants me to show you his deer. That's how he contributes to our food bank, is he hunts. Anyway, he's a hot mess, y'all. We can talk more about freezer stuff too on the next one. And I really, send me a message, comment on here. I don't want to post my phone number right out everywhere, but if you PM me and you want more info, I will be happy to send it to you. And if you want me to do another one, anybody who's on here right now, if you learned something and you want more info, give me a thumbs up. You want me to go into a deeper dive? I will do that. I will keep doing it. I'll do it over and over again. So, again, this is my passion, and this is how I want to help people help people. I want us to be as prepared as possible, because right now my heart breaks that I can't go to the East Coast right now. I just can't do it. I can send money, and I could send goods if somebody's going, but how do I help the person next to me, right? Like, if I'm okay, I can go help someone else be okay, right? All right. I really appreciate all of the views and everyone being here. I'm getting the cut it off. Anyway, I love you guys, and I really mean it. So I hope that it helped. Please let me know if I can give you any more information, okay? Mwah. Have a good weekend.